Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks postgame podcast. Hawks lose 3-2 to the Wild in overtime up in Minnesota, and maybe lose a lot more. We're going to get to all of it. Not as joyful of a show today for many, many reasons. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that like button for us and follow and subscribe to the YouTube page. Same deal on your favorite podcast app. Subscribe, follow, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So let's get right into the big news of the game. Aside from the final score, again, Hawks lose 3-2 to the Wild. Tyler Johnson ties the game with about a minute left to go in the third, and then the Wild win it quickly in overtime. But the big news is Samuel Savoie falls into the boards legs first and is stretchered off the ice. Obviously fully conscious. You could literally hear him screaming when it happened.
That was not great.
If you watch the I'm not going to speculate on what it's going to be. We don't know. I think it's clearly lower body. I think we're confident in saying that. But there was no like Nick Chubb situation where you see a visible bend or anything like that. But it was interesting that when they stretchered him off, he was laying on his side where he had one leg over the other leg. Did give a thumbs up to the crowd. I saw he fist bumped teammate on the way off the ice. So I don't know. It was scary to see. And when they showed the replay and Samuel Savoie getting stretchered off the ice, Luke Richardson looked visibly upset.
Yeah, I had to take a big deep breath after that. Towards the end of the second period, like you have that happen. You see a teammate go down with a really tough injury. The stretcher has to come out, and then you go right into the locker room as it's with second intermission. It's a tough spot to be put in, both as a coach and as a player to see that happen. But yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that this was probably going to be the only preseason game he played before going back to Gatineau in the queue. For Savoie, but man, it's just a really tough way to, have your own probably your only preseason action end, have your training camp end, and now we don't know the severity of everything, but probably at least a delay to your junior season, which this was going to be a big year for him with an elevated role with Gatineau. Bigger expectations for him, trying to, he talked about, during development camp, during the prospects showcase camp, and here in training camp, talked about how, he wanted to kind of mold his game a little bit more into that offensive, point production style, not necessarily just being the kind of like pesky player, but also being able to, chip in with some offense. And it's just tough for him. I mean, he's a fan favorite in the prospect group for sure, but just really, really tough to see that injury happen that way. And it was just, legs and feet get tangled up. No one's fault. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, it's the worst part about preseason hockey is you fear you're going to get a severe injury, and it certainly looks severe. And we don't know the extent of it. All the Blackhawks said was he was not returning to the game, which, was a pretty obvious update. I don't think anybody expected that. So we just got to wait for the news. Obviously doesn't look good. You can hear him on the broadcast screaming.
That was rough.
It's just, when you see a guy like Luke Richardson have to compose himself, it's not
that guy's seen some stuff.
Yeah, and he's, usually very stoic, especially behind the bench. We get more emotion out of him at practice and when we talk to him, but to kind of see him look like, a man that
He looked like he was about to cry, and I don't blame him. I mean,
a man that used
tough.
to punch faces for a living gets shaken up. I mean, but that just tells you the testament of, the kind of kid Savoie is.
Yeah, and the kind of guy I think the kind of guy Luke is too.
Yeah, I mean, it's his guy.
Yeah, he cares about those guys.
Yeah, they're his players, and then of course, Savoie is a very likable guy. Very personable. You see him at practice, always, joking around with his teammates, and they all seem to like him. And he's the type of guy that you love on your team, but you hate playing against. Yeah. So hopefully, it's not as bad as it looked. Anytime a stretcher comes out is never good. So we just
especially for something that was pretty clearly like lower body leg area.
It was a little strange. It came out right away.
If especially a hockey player, if they can't skate off even on one leg,
that's the trainers will help them get off the ice.
Gives you some a little bit of pause there, but
hopefully it's not as bad as it looked. We'll as soon as we can get an update, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if there's any Chicago media in Minnesota tonight.
I don't
think anybody.
But hopefully the Hawks.
I know there was the radio team.
Yeah.
But I think it was just John and Troy.
Yeah, I don't
think Joe Brand made the trip.
No. And I don't think any of the media was going to any of the preseason road games. So we'll just have to wait for the Hawks to give us
medical update.
And something like that, you probably aren't going to know for a while. I'm sure he's transported to a local hospital, get X-rays, MRIs, whatever, get some sort of idea what's going on. Hopefully it's not that bad. We're sending, our positive thoughts and all that in his direction, and hopefully it's
my guy.
It's a good it's a better outcome than what it feels like.
Yeah.
Let's hope so. A couple of things I want to point out from the chat. A couple of people pointing out Jujar Kara, who is now with the Minnesota Wild, making a point to go over and comfort Savoie as he's leaving the ice. And also, I think just the Wild fans in general showed some class and some decorum. I mean, that you could hear a pin drop in that place.
Yeah, it was
during that, and cheers as he's going off the ice. It's I guess the bare minimum, but they were respectful and good. And hey, state of hockey, right? They seem to get it.
I mean, it's a preseason game. It's not the stakes are not as high. They're glorified AHL/NHL level rosters. Like this isn't Blackhawks and Wild fighting for a playoff spot in March and April or anything like that. Like the stakes are much lower. So being able to, give that recognition to Savoie as he's injured is good. It's good for them.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. All right, so as we did with the first show, and we're going to do all season, we are going to have you guys in the chat vote for the 4th star of the game. Does anyone have the 3 stars handy?
The 3 stars were all Minnesota Wild. I want to say I'm going to try and
should have written this down.
Find it again.
Preseason.
I think Ryan O'Rourke was one of them. A guy named Connor Dewar.
Okay.
And
Beckman? You have the other goal.
Connor Dewar, Philip Gustafson, and Ryan O'Rourke.
Okay,
those were your 3 stars.
Yeah, Connor Dewar is he's one of the few NHL guys that actually played in that game for the Minnesota. That was a good shot he had in overtime.
Yep.
To win it.
Yeah.
Here are the nominees, though, for 4th star of the game. Make sure you vote for that on the YouTube channel right now. Cole Gutman, Arvid Soderblom, and Boris Kachuk, all of which had very good games. There was one shift in general. I tweeted it out where Cole Gutman danced around a couple Wild defenders, hit the post twice in the same shift.
He was buzzing that
shot
shift.
Out of a cannon, had a really solid game. Just looking up his numbers here real quick. No points. He had 1 shot on goal, but 4 shots missed. That includes the 2 hit posts. One of his shots was also blocked. Finished the game with a hit and 2 takeaways. He played 18:57, which was the second most ice time of all forwards behind only Taylor Radish. So solid game for him. The other candidates we have, as we said, Arvid Soderblom, who stopped, 29 of 32 Wild shots. That's good for a 90.906 save percentage. So he had a good game. We're going to spend more time on him. And then Boris Kachuk, a really solid game. 2 assists, 1 primary, 1 secondary, +2 was not credited with a shot or a shot attempt, which is, I don't think that's right. Again, preseason, and 2 hits as well. He played 14:45. Interesting to see Boris Tkachuk getting some time on the point on the power play. He was playing the right point.
Yeah, I mean, with these rosters, somebody's got to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those guys who's on that bubble of the forwards group, and there's some of those guys that played tonight that made a positive impact. Tkachuk was definitely one of them. Some of them that look like they're playing to head down I-90 to Rockford. So it's these games matter for those guys. Like last year we talked about how preseason games really kind of just felt like they happened. Wasn't really any position battles of consequence. This year that's not the case. Defensemen, bottom 6 forwards, like there are guys battling for spots. So good for Tkachuk to have a game like that, given the opportunity that he was. And Whistle got the game's opening goal just over a minute into the game. So it was good performances from those guys.
Well, those are 2 of the 3 guys in this lineup that are battling for probably the last 2 spots. I mean, the top 4 lines are pretty much cemented in.
Yeah,
I would say so.
I mean, we know the Bedard line with Donato and Hall. Yes, they've made it. Reichel, Athanasiou, Kurashev. Kurashev, by the way, didn't practice today with a wrist injury. I don't think it's anything major.
He practiced on Friday, did he not?
I believe he did. He did. So maybe it was just something
tweaked.
It's something
right.
At this time of year for a guy like that. My wrist is sore. Cool. Take the day off. We'll see if he's there tomorrow practicing. So those guys are there. Your third line is your vet line with Foligno, Perry, Dickinson.
Is that your third? Is that your third line?
Third or fourth line. Your bottom 6. One of your bottom 6 lines, and then the ex-Bolt line, as I like to call them, all former Tampa Bay Lightning in some capacity. Taylor Radish, Cole Gutman, and Tyler Johnson. So those are your 4 lines. So you're only allowed 23 players.
Yeah. Who's the extra skater?
So you're starting the year with 5 straight road games, so you're probably taking 2 forwards and a defenseman with you. Right now, those 2 extra forwards are Boris Tkachuk and Mackenzie Entwistle.
Yeah, I would say so.
Reese Johnson's had 2 games, and the only time I've noticed him is when he's passing the puck up the middle of the ice and turning it over.
Yeah, and he just looks slow, and you would think, I would say that Tkachuk and Entwistle have come in knowing they're fighting for their job.
Yeah.
I think Reese Johnson has regressed. And maybe it's just in the context of a deeper and better roster.
I think, maybe he's the same player. He just looks worse because there's better players here now.
Could be.
Than last year.
I think the difference between Tkachuk, Entwistle, and Johnson is that Tkachuk and Entwistle can provide a little bit of offense.
Yeah.
I think Reese Johnson's skill set is to be physical, be grindy, drop the gloves, and I think they have enough guys that have those attributes already set to be on the roster. And I think Entwistle and Tkachuk can also be grindy, can also be physical, can play that kind of role. But I think they just have a slight edge offensively to what they can chip in. So
yeah.
So for Reese Johnson to leapfrog those guys, he's got to he would have to have played perfect through this preseason and chip in a goal or an assist here or 2, and he hasn't done any of that.
And I like Reese Johnson.
Yeah.
He took on that role graciously last year. He's a good kid, but it's kind of one of those where you now look in the locker room and what is it? Is it Office Space with the famous? What exactly is it that you do here?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think like last year he was fine. I got
Fly buzzing you.
Go away. Shoe fly. You've got last year was a perfect storm for guys like him. And he played well at times last year, but now that the bar has been raised, both talent-wise and expectation-wise, I think reality is setting in that something we probably knew all along. He's that tweener, that AHL player that if you need
an extra bowling ball out there,
you've got an injury and you need a guy to come up and give you 8 minutes on your 4th line and not kill you, enter Reese Johnson.
Yeah, and the other, you talk about, like, if you want to be one of the rare teams that has an enforcer, he's not the kind of guy that strikes fear in anybody.
You got Jared Tenorti, who's not going to play every night, but you got
right.
him.
But I mean,
Corey Perry, he's obviously going to stick up for his guys.
Tenorti, Foligno, Perry, Connor Murphy can serve you some fists if you want him to.
Yeah, he's done it.
You got who else can I think? We saw Vlasic ragdoll Lucas Reichel's cousin in the AHL last year.
Yeah, so you
have guys that are going to do it. So yeah, I think if the only thing that you're bringing to the table is your physicality and your willingness to stick up for teammates or drop the gloves to get the boys going on the bench or anything like that, they got guys that are gonna do that and can do other things as well. Yeah. So it's from a totality perspective, it's good that the Blackhawks are in a position where they have people to say, well, we don't have room for you anymore.
Right.
Like, that's an improvement from last year.
Yeah.
We don't have room for the guys that are, the tweeners in the AHL, NHL. Like, if you are here this year, you are an NHL player. You're not just a 4A guy getting an opportunity anymore.
Yeah, and the fourth guy that was part of that veteran battle who's not been a part of it so far is Colin Blackwell.
Yeah.
He's yet to skate.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a trip to IR to start the season and before they decide what they want to do with him. I believe it's still not fully recovered from was it the
sports hernia surgery?
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I always get sports hernia and core muscle stuff confused.
Similar.
Kinda, yeah. So
the hernia is where the thing like pops out of your
like drops down. Yeah,
all right, I've had a sports hernia. It's not like the regular ones that are soft. This one's like hard.
Oh,
it's on
firm?
like
It's
firm.
a firm
Yes,
hernia.
It's a firm injury.
Mario likes those.
Yeah.
It's like a harder hernia, firmer hernia, and it's like
good.
More on the groin region.
Ooh.
No, definitely don't like that.
See, this is why I don't exercise or work
Exactly.
Right.
Can't pull fat.
Well, exactly.
As David Wells once
That's
said.
right.
But I wonder. But Blackwell was skating with the veterans before training camp started. Those couple times we were there, he was out there. So I don't think it's anything super serious. But
probably just not ready to go yet.
Take a hit or anything like that. But I think Reese Johnson will clear waivers and get to Rockford no problem. Colin Blackwell might be a guy, if you put him on waivers, might get picked up.
Oh, well. I feel like I feel like the path for him is probably IR and then like an emergency, or not an emergency, conditioning stint down to Rockford, and then we'll see where at that point whenever he does come back, if it's a few games into the season, we'll see where the roster's at, what guys look like as we get to games that truly matter. But yeah, I mean, I think the point of the 12 forwards that you're going to play the most this year, I think that's very much set. Like your battle now is not really for ice time, quote unquote. I think you're battling just to stay in the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, I like the depth of this Blackhawks team this year.
Yeah.
It is a welcome change from last year, where you had a top six, and then you had 6 guys who all did the same thing.
We're all pretty interchangeable and
all did the same
thing.
And now you've got, your top 6 has got 2 lines that are dangerous,
exciting.
Yeah, fast and creative. And your bottom 6 has that grindy checking line, but of that veteran line. But they can also score a few goals. Dickinson, Perry, and Foligno will score some goals. Yeah,
they'll pump some in. Yep.
They're not completely they're not just knuckle draggers out there, busting heads into the boards. They've got
Jason Dickinson is faster than Nathan McKinnon.
That's what we did. We got to remember to show that to him next time he's in the locker room.
That's from the NHL's data center.
Yes,
we're not just making that up.
No, he's faster than Nathan McKinnon, and we're going to tell him about that video for the show, because I bet you he's going to be just as surprised to hear that as we are. But then your other bottom 6 line, as we mentioned, the ex-Lightning line, that's a line that's going to score some goals too.
Yeah.
There was never a line in the bottom 6 last season in all 82 games where you're like, ooh, these three guys can score.
No.
You never said that once. When they did score like the 5 goals that came from the bottom 6 last year, you were like, I can't believe they scored.
Yeah, wow, look at
This
that.
is great.
Right, yeah.
Like, so the depth and the improvement of the depth and the talent on this team from last year to this year, a lot of that is by design. You didn't want to be that deep nor talented last year.
Right.
But now that that's over and you've accomplished what last year set out to accomplish, it's nice to see, you know, a third line. I mean, they were the top line tonight, but a third line that could tie the game with a minute to go in regulation.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were creating chances.
Yeah.
You know, and again, game 2 of a preseason, you know, it's not the star-studded lineups, but for them playing as the top line, they looked like it, which that's what you want to see. You don't want to see the third line that you're going to have for the NHL team look overmatched in a game like this. And they were out creating chances. Tyler Johnson got on the board. Taylor Radish had a ton of shots. Gutman was buzzing at times. Like, it was good. It was good to see. And specifically for Gutman, who's coming off of, you know, had surgery that ended his season last year, coming into camp, you know, fighting to kind of take the spot that he left last year in the NHL lineup. It's a good start for him. Like, he needed a game like this. So good to see for him. Yeah, I think the depth of the forwards group is gonna surprise some teams this year.
All right, we're going to take our first break here, but a couple reminders. Make sure you vote for the 4-star of the game. The nominees are Cole Gutman, Boris Kachuk, and Arvid Soderblom. I want to talk about Soderblom on the other side of this break. We also have some good questions about Colton Dach and some other players in the chat we're going to get to as well. And make sure, if you're in the YouTube there with us now, smash that like button for us. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do it.
Go ahead, Greg. Tell us about Ray.
I am going to tell you about a Ray now and another Ray later. This Ray
Rays, wow.
is for 2 Rays. Wow. This Ray is for those of you who are in the market for a new or used vehicle, because we've got some great news for you. Ray Chevy in Fox Lake has just joined the CHGO team. And we were talking to our pals over at Ray Chevy the other day, and they got this thing called the Ray Price Promise. It's a guarantee that the price you see online is the price you're going to pay when you walk into the dealership. We found that in many other cases, dealers are going to raise the price on you when you come into the dealership. They're going to ask you questions they know the answers are no to. Like, are you a recent college grad? Are you active in the military? Are you a farmer? Well, in most cases, you're going to say no, and that's when we're going to tell you they're going to get all shady and say that they're going to raise the price because those online prices included rebates that you don't qualify. Well, at Ray, that's not the case. The price you see online is the price you're going to pay with no add-ons to the price ever. In fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for you that will make the price even lower than the one you saw online. And as one of the top-selling dealers in the Midwest, bless you, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Save big at Ray Chevy because they now have over 100 Chevy Trax models starting at $21,495. And now through September 30th.
That's today.
Hey, hurry up, get there.
Hurry up. Get on the website now because all buyers can qualify for 0% financing. Make 0 payments until 2024 plus put no money down. And best of all, pay 0 hidden fees with the Ray Price Promise. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake in person or raychevrolet.com. Serving the community since 1963. Find new roads.
Don't delay, act now has never been more true.
Yeah.
That's right.
And hey, speaking about truth, Goose Island beer is delicious. They are the proud sponsor. Nice honkers. They are the proud beer sponsor of us here at CHGO, and they have been Chicago's beer honking over the city since 1988. How can you argue with the year-round roster that Goose Island boasts? You got the family of Beer Hug Imperial IPAs, the 9.9 ABV IPAs that are dangerously easy to drink. You have the Full Pocket Pills, the everyday beer that the Goose Island beer brewers are drinking. And, of course, you have the golden cans of 312, the wheat ale, the staple of their year-round roster. And it is late September, which means it's almost October, but it has been Oktoberfest season for all month now. So make sure as you ring in the fall season with your Oktoberfest celebrations, get a Goose Island Oktoberfest beer. better than anything pumpkin spice flavored that you will have. I guarantee it. You can grab all of these ultra-fresh brewery-exclusive beers and more at the Goose Island Original Brewhouse on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or you can go to their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. That is the Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. And you know where we're going to have a ton of Goose Island beer tomorrow? The Chicago CHGO Bears tailgate. It is going to be a lot of fun.
Lit.
Tomorrow, 7:30 start time in the morning. Get amped for Bears and Broncos.
Woo!
Somebody's got to win, maybe.
Yeah, somebody's O has got to go, as somebody
0-0
says.
tie. Let's go.
Yeah, come out. Tickets are still available, I think. Probably.
Yep, sure.
Go to the allchgo.com. Get your tickets if you haven't yet. CHGO crew is going to be out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're playing the Broncos, so say hi to some of our DNVR crew as well. And Athletes First is their tailgate tour is going to make a stop. Our guy Shane is doing a lot of work with them, so their big Winnebago is going to be out there. It's going to be a good time as we all cheer Justin Fields as he steps onto the field and see what happens on Sunday.
I can't wait.
You could wait.
I can. All right, we've got a little bit of an update here from Luke Richardson. Not too much. This is from Joe Smith, who covers the Wild for The Athletic. That's a real person, Joe Smith. He's not just made up.
He was on the Lightning beat for a bit.
Luke Richardson said,
winners in Minnesota.
No update yet on Savoie, who is still getting evaluated. He was in a little bit of pain, so we're hoping for the best. That's a quote. Encouraged, he was fist-pumping guys on the way off the ice. Quote, it's a good relief to see that. So,
a little bit of pain.
I don't know.
Hopefully not as bad as it looked.
I hate speculating on injuries.
We'll see.
It just when you hear a guy screaming, it's
never good.
You're going to be at morning skate tomorrow. I assume Luke will be there as well.
I'd hope.
Maybe they'll have an overnight update.
I'm sure he's going to be asked.
Yeah.
So, we'll get it out to you as soon as we hear from him tomorrow. I'll be at the practice, so I won't be at the tailgate, or I'll miss the start of the Bears game, too. Boy.
Tough day for you.
That's a rough day.
It's a rough day.
We got a super chat we got to pay off here from Joey Smith. That's weird. How about that?
I wonder if it's Joe's son.
Yeah. With Savoie out, the Hawks should re-sign Kane. Well, thank you, Joey, for your
appreciate
your $2 donation. Hey,
well, you got an extra mention.
You can get an extra one.
You got one.
You got one bank.
You got one in the bank.
He's paying it forward for someone else. Young Dangle God can save his $1 this time.
Can we stop one thing?
Sure.
Can we stop asking if the Hawks are going to claim every right-handed defenseman that gets put on waivers?
I'm with you.
Like these guys are on waivers for a reason.
Yes.
And I'd like to think that the organization has a plan that's better than let's just look at the scrap heap every day at noon and see who's available.
First rounder and throw him out there, and maybe he'll change it around.
Trust your guys in-house.
And Kyle Davidson has said many times, like, part of the good part about having so many draft assets is you can use them for trades. Mm-hmm. So if they truly feel that they're doomed without a third pair right defenseman, they can trade for one if they want to. Mm-hmm. I think what they should do now, with the whole roster basically, except for Phil Kessel, sorry, you should just stay put and just let it play out. You've got options, veteran, rookie, whatever. Like, you're going to send guys down that you probably don't want to because you've got too many veterans here. And Nikita Zaitsev is not an ideal person to have on this team, but again, they're not trying to win a cup this year.
A lack of right-handed shots this year is not going to derail any big thing. So I know people will say, oh, well, they got Jared Tenorti on waivers last year. Well, but you knew exactly what you were getting out of Jared Tenorti. Yeah. And you got exactly what you wanted.
You also did that like 2 days before the regular season started.
Yeah. You're not picking Jared Tenorti was not a guy that was like, hey, he's only 23 and was picked 19th overall. Maybe he's going to be good one day. No, he's a big, physical, mean defenseman, and we need one of those. Mm-hmm. So, we don't need to – every time that somebody gets on waivers, we don't need to say, hey, let's take a shot at him. No, I'm cool if we don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather I'm not against any waiver pick, but I'd rather be a veteran guy that you know exactly what you're getting that fits a specific need for your team.
Right.
go draft 3 right-handed shot defensemen next year and develop them.
Sure.
You got
Absolutely.
your time.
But again, I mean, there's always teams looking to make moves, or you've got this like kind of a glut of offensive talent now all of a sudden, right? Like guys that are NHLers that are not going to play in the NHL this year. I'm not saying you're going to get a ton from Mackenzie Entwistle, but you know, there's teams that might be looking around for some of the stuff you have in surplus.
Yeah.
Look, I think we know that that Kyle Davidson is on top of things.
Yeah.
He's got his eyes open, stuff that we don't see coming. Like he's on top, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm confident that he's doing everything he can to make the roster as effective as it can be. But I think for the time being, they're best served by just letting it play out, seeing how things go, and then adjusting if needed. That's what I would say.
Yep.
Let's get into Arvid Soderblom a little bit today. Again, gave up 3 goals, including the overtime winner. I thought, though, he looked really solid, really sound.
Yeah. I think it'd be fair to say that the 2 goals in regulation, it's hard to pin on him.
Yeah.
Like the first one, pinball
Yeah, it looked
pinball shot he never saw.
It looked like it clicked off of
It had Crevier's,
Crevier,
skate.
Crevier.
and he had a ass in his face. Like, you
Yeah.
never saw it. He
Right.
wasn't stopping that unless
the
it
good
hit
kind
him.
either.
No.
Yeah, and the second one, you know, the Wild take advantage of a couple breakdowns by the Blackhawks. Nikita Zaitsev not covering the back door, and Adam Beckman taps in a puck that was either a shot or a pass. I don't know if it was done on purpose. But
Korchinski lost that battle too.
Yeah.
Actually, I wrote about it for Hawks Hits that'll be published after the game. He's got to be he's either got to take the body or be stronger with his stick there. That's a lesson learned for him. But he had a chance to tie up the stick or take the man out of the play and did neither, and then it ends up in the back of the net. Both defensemen kind of botched that thing.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, yeah, you're right. None of the goals I really blame on Soderblom
Yeah,
at all.
and
I will
then
say
he's beat by a good shot in overtime.
they mentioned it on the broadcast, and I had sort of noticed it as well. He did seem to lose the puck in his pads a few times.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the black pads play a role in that. Like, if you're struggling to see the black puck with the black pads. I mean, he's far from the only goalie to do it. Corey Crawford wore black pads forever and seemed to be fine. But he did seem to struggle a little bit with the pucks that were like in close net front. They got away from him a little bit. There was also a goal that was disallowed, clearly kicked in by Jujar Carroll.
Yeah,
like he actually
that was a
like
kick.
Dirty cheater. That's why he's not here anymore.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I still am sort of the mind that they're going to give Mrazek as the courtesy the start. He'll be the number 1 goalie heading into opening day in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then over time, I think Soderblom's going to overtake him and get the bulk of the starts.
That would be great.
If I had to predict and then put money on a bet, I would bet that at the end of the year, Arvid Soderblom has more starts than Peter Mrazek for a myriad of reasons.
I think that's safe.
I think he'll have more starts. The thing that impressed me the most about him tonight, he was good outside of the first goal. He seemed to be pretty good in traffic. His rebound control was good early, and then kind of
Got scrambly late.
failed
Yeah.
later in the game. So I want a little more consistency on the rebound control from start to finish. It started off well. He was absorbing a lot of shots early. I mean, he took a lot of shots in that first period.
It was like 16 or something like that.
They were
yeah.
like outshot 16-8 in the first period. So especially early, it was like, even though the Hawks had a 1-0 lead, it was like 10-2 in shots at
they
one
jumped
point.
on 'em, yeah.
So, good showing from all 3 of the goalies so far. You can't really, if you get the type of goaltending we've had over the first 2 preseason games, yes, they were against mostly AHL players, but you still got to stop the puck. To me, the goaltending is the biggest weakness and question mark of this team.
I agree.
So if you can get some, solid NHL average play out of your starting goaltender this year, you're going to be a much improved team than last year. 59 points last year.
Yeah.
If you get NHL average goaltending, I think this team can get 70 points.
Yeah, and I think you could also kind of make the argument, too, that with a little bit more talent on the team, and a few more willing checkers on the team, it's not going to be such a task night after night for Mrazek or Soderblom or whoever might be in goal that night for the Hawks, because there were a lot of those games where we'd say after they look like Denny Lemieux in Slapshot, like just having the meltdown, had to be held down during intermission. They're kind of shell-shocked from the whole thing. Hopefully that there's fewer of those kind of fire drill type games that we saw with the Hawks a few times last year. And look, like I know we've potentially have 3 rookie defensemen starting for the Hawks, so there will be those moments. There's no doubt about that. But I just think in general, the talent, and Luke Richardson says it all the time, like your team defense is not just those 6 guys behind the blue line. It's the entire team. And when you look at the way this roster is built, you've got a lot of guys willing. I mean, look, we saw it from Connor Bedard, of all people, in the first preseason game, back checking, stick lifting, being involved, all 3 zones, kind of a center.
Is it over?
Are they eliminated?
Poor Cody is doing the death march in the studio.
It's a sad walk to Studio
Meanwhile, Luke is smiling because he doesn't have to work tomorrow.
They actually won this time, though.
They did win.
Cubs won, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, wait, Cubs win. You still got to do the victory beer bat. They did win. A rule's a rule.
Yeah, get your bat.
Just so you know, I predicted 83 wins this year. I'm hoping for a loss.
All right, Luke wants the 83 wins.
Luke predicted 83 wins. And thanks to our pal Stucky for supplying some
pizza.
pizza.
Pop for some pizza.
Yes.
Put the pizza bill.
We love our Cubs
Thanks,
guys.
Dad.
Yeah.
That's the one guy here older than me. I can do that.
There you go.
But yeah, jump on CHGO Cubs when we're done, of course. They're going live here in a moment. So, all right, should we update? Are we ready to call this thing? Are we ready to declare a winner in the?
There's a runaway here.
This is getting out of hand. This is getting ugly. 4-star of the game. Our nominees were Cole Gutman, Arvid Soderblom, and Boris Kachuk. Cole Gutman running away with it with 60% of your votes.
That's pretty good.
We'll keep the poll going, but I think Steven, as the arbiter of the 4-star, is ready to call it officially. That is our 4-star.
He's our
of the game.
Kornacki.
He's definitely a popular guy, Cole Gutman. And why not? He played real good. That one shift, he was all over the place.
Let's talk about him a little bit because, like we mentioned earlier, the injury, a bit of a concern. Didn't get the finish here with the Hawks, but really made an impression in that the brief time he was healthy. And boy, man, he looked excellent today. Mm-hmm. He really, like you talked about, not a lot of NHL players in this game. He was one of the guys most visibly effective for either team. Yeah. Really buzzing. Again, check out some of the moves he made where he hit in that shift where he hit the post twice, just dancing around defenders. He was very solid in this game. And I think that him not making the team would be a shock to me.
That would be a shock.
I think it would be a wrong call. That would be like a roster motivated call. Like, oh, we don't want to waive people that we don't have to waive. Or that we have to waive to send down. I want Gutman here, and I think he's here to stay.
I think so.
Luke Richardson spoke about him yesterday at practice, and he talked about how when he joined the team last year, the big thing that stood out to Richardson was how quickly he was able to adapt to the jump from college to the professional game. And you watch the games as he progressed throughout the end of last season. He just seemed to get better and better and better. So, he set the bar for himself this year to go back and come into this camp, be ready to go, be healthy. He is, and reclaim that spot that he had at the end of last year. And yeah, I mean, if he continues to play in the preseason like he did tonight, he's gonna just write his name into that roster spot in pen, which I think it was his to lose, and he has done nothing to worry about losing it.
No, I knew he had a good shot first day of training camp being on that line with Johnson and Radish and not being taken off of that once.
No.
And outside of some sort of injury, knock on wood, he's on this team. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be. I mean, are you going to send Cole Gutman down to Rockford because you're afraid someone's going to claim Boris Kachuk on waivers? I don't think so.
Oh.
I think there's a lot of guys that they would just be fine if they got claimed.
To be honest with you, all those guys, those 4 guys, if they got claimed, the Hawks are going to be like, All right. Well, that kind of saves us a little bit of a headache.
Yeah.
You know, clears up a little bit of a log jam we have. I mean, I don't want to see any of those guys go necessarily, but if they do, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, I mean,
Mackenzie Entwistle will go somewhere else. I'll be sad because I like him he's a good dude. And
Yeah,
then we're going to have to find a new bit. That's work for
man,
him.
shoot.
I don't want that.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Like to kill someone
our
else's
bit.
family.
Yeah, we're going to have to find another orphan to fall in love with. And there's not too many orphaned NHL players out there.
No, I mean, it's yeah, I mean, you look at the guys that are kind of on that bubble, on that cut line with Tkachuk and Entwistle and Reese Johnson, Colin Blackwell, Joey Anderson. You know, you get into guys like Mike Hardman and stuff like that. It's just like none of those guys are gonna sink you in any way if they're not here.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing for the Blackhawks to be in that position now. And none of those guys are really. I think the gap between a guy like Gutman and those guys is starting to widen, which is good for Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of those guys are part of the long-term plan. They could force their way into another contract here, but
Sure.
they're not guys that, like, I'm sure Kyle Davidson is like, I'm building that Stanley Cup winning fourth line around Boris Tkachuk.
No, I mean, you look at
he still could be there if he plays himself into it, but
Sure.
they're not guys that are, long-term for sure.
But you're looking at how he's been building this team since he took over, and it's speed, and it's skill, and it's things that those guys don't really have. So it's, and it's tough. Like that's the hard part about, like, for us covering a team full time for the first time. You get to know these guys a little bit, and you start rooting for them because they're good dudes. And Entwistle for sure is a guy right up there, and I think he's done enough to be that extra forward. If I'm handicapping it, I think he's the guy that gets it. But I mean, this is the downside of a rebuild: is as you fill in your system with talent and you fill in your system with depth, some of these guys that come here work their ass off for very little praise, for very little notoriety, and keep their heads up and are positive while you're losing night after night after night, all of a sudden have bled and suffered and everything for your franchise. And then, well, thanks for your service, but now you're off the team because we just have more talent. It's tough. It's a tough part of the business, but I think those guys get it. And I think that the way that Entwistle and Tkachuk especially have come into camp saying, we're going to make this at least a tough decision for you, is commendable.
Entwistle, Tkachuk, Reese Johnson, and Cole Gutman, all RFAs next year. Just throwing that out there. So not only are they, trying to fight for roster spots and all that, they're all in contract years. So there is that other consideration of what opportunity and impression are you making to stick around in the NHL. Not only just to stick around this year, but to stick around and get that next deal. So, I don't know. I just found that interesting.
Yeah, it's and all restricted, right?
Yeah, all RFAs.
Yeah, so that's the Hawks kind of have them
They
held
have
if
the
they
upper
want
hand,
to,
yeah.
And they're not going to get big deals in free agency or anything. So, look, I mean, I think some of these guys too, like I think especially Entwistle and Johnson, as they entered their pro careers, probably envisioned themselves as mostly AHL players that would get the eventual NHL call up and play a handful of games, a la Ben Smith or whoever back in the day.
Yeah.
But now that they've had that full-time taste, they don't want to lose that. But if they get sent down and they remain with the organization, then you've got a lot of Rockford's a lot better, not only talent-wise, but leadership-wise and experience-wise. And now you're putting guys like Colton Dach and Ethan Del Mastro and Nolan Allen in better situations to thrive and succeed and have deep playoff runs in the AHL. So, look, it's good for the org. It's tough for the individual players.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the tough part about things. But, yeah. By the way, Cole Gutman is just making it worse. It's just getting worse. He's just winning it even more than he was at last check.
I feel like we should throw in that.
Throw in the
Yeah,
damn
the towel
towel.
is
Throw in the
in.
damn towel.
Throw in the damn
from,
towel. It's
Rocky
over.
IV.
It's over for
Yeah.
him. I mentioned Colton Dach. Another strong game from him.
Yeah.
He's looked very impressive in the preseason. He had 4 shots on goal, +1. Another missed shot. Had 2 penalty minutes, 2 hits, 15-14 of ice time. He's just kind of buzzing out there.
Yeah.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, and we talk about the eye test a lot, right? Like who looks like an NHL player and who doesn't. The more I see Colton Dach, the more I think he's going to be an effective, probably middle 6 NHL player.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked his game tonight. I think he knew that I picked him, so he put in a tough effort.
Thought he got that game tying goal, but
I was
damn
right there.
Tyler Johnson took it.
It was
from
right
him.
there. But yeah, I liked his game. I think the difference between him and Kirby, I think, is going to be the edge that they play with. I think Kirby's probably, if they maxing out their potentials, each of them, Kirby's got a little bit more skill than Colton does, but I think Colton's got a little bit more of that nastiness in his game. Jumped into the scrum to defend Soderblom after he got a stick between the legs on a play that was blown dead. So you like that aspect of it too. I'm excited to see what he does in Rockford this year. He's one of those guys that I feel like, him and probably Allen and maybe even Ethan Dalmastro wouldn't be surprised if they made their NHL debuts at some point this season, if they play well and earn it in Rockford this year. But yeah, Dach, I think, is a guy destined for Rockford. I think he's just, it's just a numbers game right now. He's young. He's making his pro debut. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what role he plays and how he's able to adjust to that, professional level of game. But I think he's got it in him.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Colton Dach is Colton Dach's style of play is made for the AHL. I'm not saying he's a career AHLer, but like he wants
he'll hang.
He obviously wants to get physical and mix it up, and the AHL is a very physical league. And Nolan Allen and Ethan Del Mastro, those guys, I think, are going to fit right into the AHL style, and that's going to be good for them. They're not going to be out of place down there. Windy City Hockey said earlier the biggest difference between Colton and Kirby is their confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, probably the most glaring.
Yeah, I mean, Colton Dach has got some swagger to him. He's just like, I'm going to go out and do my thing where, we saw for 3 seasons Kirby be tentative, overthink things.
Yeah.
Where Colton is more just an instinctive hockey player. And that's, I think, as we sit here and compare those two, I think it's unfair to compare those two. Because they're not the same player.
No, yeah.
They're apples and oranges the way they play the game. So if we want to get into a thing of like, well, Colton only had 40 points and Kirby had 60, it's not. They don't play the same type of game. So I would have liked it if they both were, Blackhawks, but it just didn't work here. And hey, Kirby turned into Frank Nazar.
That's true.
I'll take Frank Nazar over
Frank
Kirby
Nazar
Dach.
and Gavin Hayes, I think.
That sounds right.
I think that was the trades. I like Tom Quinn in the chat here. I like the comparison of maybe an Andrew Ladd for Colton Dach. I don't think that's too far off.
That would be great.
Dave Bolin. Dave Bolin comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because
I think Doc's got a little bit of that in him too.
He's got that edge to him where Bolin, he might be more offensively talented than Dave Bolin.
Dave Bowen's junior numbers were just absurd,
right.
though.
Right, they were.
They were. What, he had like 120 points last year in London. But that was a guy we talk about that learned real quick. I'm not going to do that in the NHL.
Right.
I need to figure out how I'm going to stay here. I think Colton's kind of doing that too.
Yeah.
I think the Andrew Ladd is a decent comparison. They may be a mixture of Ladd and Bolin together.
Lowland.
And then
Ladd.
And then you throw in he's got. I'll tell you what, Colton Dach's got a better personality than both of those guys. and I love Dave Bolin, but he wasn't exactly like the greatest quote
like getting
ever.
water from a stone, that dude, talking to him.
He
loosened up eventually.
And
but
Andrew
it took
Ladd
2
is
years.
a nice guy too, but not the greatest quote.
No. By the way, for the record, Andrew Ladd, who just retired, played 1,001 NHL games, 256 goals, 294 assists. That's 550 for those that can't math, and a plus 20 for his career. So,
2 Stanley Cups.
If Colton Dach plays 1,000 NHL games,
Hey, that's a win, man.
hell yeah.
I'll take half of that.
By the way, I spent a little bit of time on Canadians' Twitter, which is
That's
never
a-
great. It's
that's
better
a-
than Leafs Twitter, but still not a great
It's a
place
risk
to be.
to your health.
Saw several people agreeing that Kirby Dach is the best Canadian.
Hey, man, live your life. Live
Do
your
they
best
not
life.
know that Nick
Suzuki's
on
pretty
that
good.
team?
Cole Caulfield's
Cole
pretty
Caulfield's
good.
pretty
Yeah.
good.
Too.
I
think there's so many people that just, because of what they gave up to get him, are just.
They want to believe.
He's gonna be so
yeah.
good. He's gonna be so good, and he's might still. But we're 4 years into a guy that's got never had more than 60 points.
yeah.
Well, I mean, he had an injury that ended his season last year.
That sounds familiar.
That's tough. But I think
Copy and paste.
you get the Canadians, who are a team that believe in the youth that's in the NHL. Doc's one of those guys that they want to believe in, and I mean, he looked like a better player being in Montreal than he ever did in Chicago. So I don't fault them for being excited about it.
But these are also some of the same people that are already calling Yuri Sapkowski a bust.
Yeah.
So
just real level-headed folks
Yeah.
up there. All right, you told us about Ray. Now tell us about Rays.
I can do that
Not the Tampa Bay Rays.
once I get my computer.
So many
working back
Rays,
there.
so little time.
Yes, I've got all your Ray action. Well, the first Ray I told you about was for cars, and the next Rays I'm telling you about are for things you could use while driving. You can take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium Polaroid shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for your outdoor adventures. I was wearing my Shady Rays on the way into the office when some jagoff from Minnesota nearly ran me off the road. I saw him coming because of those clear optics, and I was able to hit the brakes.
thankfully
Damn
you
you,
did.
Dino Cicerelli.
Before some douchebag from Minnesota wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers hat nearly ended the whole thing. Anywho,
What?
so if you're watching, Dodger, Minnesota guy, blow it out your ass. That's not all. Shady Rays offers
This
the
is
most
all in the ad copy,
insane-
by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's weird that this is in here. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Had I broke my sunglasses in that car accident that I narrowly had missed, I could send those back in and get a brand new pair. And you can get a brand new pair if you lose or break your glasses, even on day one, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. From building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange for a brand new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head on over to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code CHGO at checkout, and you're going to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of the awesome shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
All right, well, that's you talked about something you could use while driving. This is not something you use while driving.
No.
But when you're home from driving, let's say you had a stressful commute, as I do pretty much every time I drive home from here, and Saturday night on the Dan Ryan, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, strap it on, boy. That's going to be a rough one. That's always a scary one. Fortunately, it's not at 2 a.m. like it's been before. Stop at Sunnyside to get some things to ease your mind. It is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors like you can explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality cannabis products. Sunnyside has everything you need to survive your football season. And no matter where you are, if you're an old marijuana connoisseur or you're a bit of a newbie, you're going to feel very comfortable, very relaxed, very welcomed walking in to a Sunnyside. They're going to help you get exactly the experience you're looking for, and that's all you can ask from a great dispensary like Sunnyside. They also have their rewards program called Sunnyside Rewards and a great house of brands. Mindy's, good news, I tell you about those all the time. High Supply, FloraCal, Wonder, Remedy, Cresco, that's the one with the very excellent cannabis where you get the flower right there in a little jar. Open that up, take a big whiff. Ooh, it's lovely stuff. Cresco is the A1 brand for flower and marijuana. Now through October 15th, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promos, but it's not only for new customers. Anyone can use that code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your football season. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med card holder. Again, sunnyside.shop, promo code CHGO25.
I love that we have the lore of Connor Bedard already growing in our chat here, saying this is from Pows08. According to Charlie, the security team has to stay late because Bedard won't get off the ice and sometimes stays till almost midnight.
Hey, man.
I like that.
Better there than in some bar somewhere.
That's true. Yeah.
Thank you, Connor, for loving hockey.
I did appreciate
He only likes it.
I did, yeah. I did appreciate the small comedy today from the media group who was at Morning Skate. Charlie said that Bedard was on the ice by himself for 10 minutes after practice shooting pucks, and Scott Power said he was on the ice for an hour after practice shooting pucks. So someone's
Laura grows.
Someone's watch
He's
is
still
betraying
on the
them.
ice. They turn the lights off, and he says, "Screw you, turn them on." He brings his own floodlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his dad's there. Maybe he turns on his truck lights and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I followed his dad on Twitter today.
Nice.
Follow back. It helps you grow your followers, we're told.
That's what we've been told.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, have we gotten to our 10,000 Twitter followers yet?
No, but
No,
we
getting
got
there.
some time.
All right. Hey, we got 9,319.
Pretty good.
Let's get to
400
10,000.
more than we had a couple days ago.
Yeah. Let's get to 10,000 by opening day. We got
Tell
some
your
time.
friends.
CHGO_Blackhawks. As interest grows and people hear about Connor Bedard and are going to want info, let your friends know, hey, this is the place you need to go. Check out CHGO Blackhawks. Here's their Twitter handle. Here's where to watch them on YouTube. All that great stuff. Help us grow. And the more we grow, the more cool stuff we can do for you, including our trip to Pittsburgh, which we're going to have.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So it's going to be an awesome time.
And hey, what other group of people covering the Blackhawks have had 2 videos go viral from their accounts in the last week?
That's right.
Yeah. As uncomfortable and itchy as it made me,
You did. All you're doing is reporting the news.
I
A
guess.
couple million views is a couple million views.
Yep, exactly right. We got a super chat from Joey. Says, Cubs are eliminated, Bears suck. However, Tyler Johnson will single-handedly give the city of Chicago the boost we need.
Yes.
Tyler Johnson, 2023-24 Hart Trophy winner.
That's your money
I'm
to
the
spend,
biggest-
Joey.
Sure.
I am the biggest Tyler Johnson fan in this room right now.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. You are
I am.
one of them.
Why? Greg, go ahead and tell everybody how you won
Because-
again.
Who's your hawk? This guy right here, undefeated.
Well, you
2-0.
You
I will
picked
say though, we all picked 3
Connor
good ones.
Bedard the first game. It's cheating.
He did say he had the second pick, though.
second
Yeah, he
pick.
I
did.
give him
Yeah.
props there.
Yes,
It's because I said I want Athanasiou, and the next text in the chain was Jay spinning the wheel saying I went second. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll take him. That's a fine second, or I went first. I was like, all right, whatever, that's still a fine pick.
He was tied. Technically, we tied.
I think we need to amend some rules before the
That's
regular
fine.
season.
That's fine.
There's going to be a cap on how many times you can pick Bedard, either in a row or per month or something like that. Because if each show one of us is picking Bedard, it's
Yeah, but there are, believe it or not, there are going to be games where he doesn't get a point. It's going to happen.
No.
It's going to happen.
82 game points.
He didn't have a point tonight.
Sit on a throne of lies.
They didn't even dress him.
Exactly. He was too busy shooting pucks at the fifth third.
He missed his flight.
Ah, crap. I knew I was supposed to do something.
So, yes, Tyler Johnson.
He's got the little ropes, little strings
Yeah,
on his
like
finger.
Uncle
Oh,
Billy,
shoot, I
that
forgot my
dumbass
flight.
from It's Wonderful Life.
Oh,
That ruined everything.
God, I feel so bad. I hate that. I hate that movie. I love that movie.
Oh, you
I
hate
love
Uncle
that movie. I
Billy?
just hate that part of the movie.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's torture.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Yeah. No, it's not torture. Being 2-0 and Who's Your Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Preseason.
no, this is it.
Wait till they count.
Preseason.
I'm going to go 6-0 in the preseason, and I'm going to be 0-82 in the regular.
And we're hitting the
So-
reset button in the regular season.
Yes.
right?
we are.
And we can tweak some rules and scoring and all that.
Yeah, we're gonna have
we're still
We're gonna have a board of governors meeting
We'll
and
put that out
figure
there.
out the
and
rules.
We'll put it out there on Twitter so everybody knows. So I'm not accused of just making shit up as we go along. We literally agreed on all these things,
Yeah,
and now all
yeah.
of a sudden things need to be changed because I've won twice in a row.
Yeah, well, clearly it's broken. I mean, if anything indicates it's broken, it's that you have won and Mario and I have not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it must be broken. All right, we're going to
Pick
wrap
better
things
players.
up. Again, official congratulations to our 4-star Cole Gutman, who did finish with 60% of the vote. He wins a fabulous Seiko watch, courtesy of our friends at Foco.
Spelled with
Sure.
a C.
I don't know if Foco has watches, but, we'll see who gets some. Maybe we should start tracking 4 stars and give him a little gift at the end of the year. Get fitted out in the best sports gear around
Buy
at
him a
Foco.
donut from the donut shop.
There you go.
There you go.
Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It is no longer baseball season. It's football season.
it's over.
It's hockey season. Get your hoodies. Get your toques. Get your slippers. Get your fleece pants. Everything you need to stay
fleece pants.
cool, stay warm at a hockey or football game. And they've donated some awesome stuff to our set, which we always appreciate. Check out Foco.com or click the link in our description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO to save 10%. Foco.com.
Yes. The many ways Mackenzie Entwistle's parents met their demise.
Oh, boy.
I'll say it for the audio. XAHD.
Jod. I'm going to say Jod.
Is it Jod? Yeah. Says, I hear Entwistle's parents stepped on the logo right in front of Bedard. Just saying.
Well, they kind of floated over it. And they materialized, maybe.
Oh,
This
man.
is why we can't have Mackenzie Entwistle go to Rockford, because we can't. We're not going to find a bit anywhere. We've worked hard at this bit over a year now. and
Yeah.
It's good.
We were dedicated to this.
Yes.
Someone else has to say something to us. That's all.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Something we
maybe
can
we'll
run
get
with
something in
unfairly.
Pittsburgh.
All right. We're going to wrap up. Oh, sorry. I got another super chat from Nate. Says we have the only positive team in Chicago sports. That's right. Least
Hey.
dysfunctional team.
Yay, way to go, low bars.
I think we're setting ourselves up for another banner in October. I think we're off to a good start.
Absolutely right.
Less teams to compete with in October.
It's true.
Yes.
true.
All right, we're back tomorrow after Hawks and Red Wings. Again, 6 o'clock
Rivalry
puck
night.
drop, so about the same time, 8:30-ish. I think we got on tonight, right around there, 8:45. So we'll be here again. If they play, we're on. So get in the habit, just like you get in the habit of smashing that like button when you jump in. But if you haven't done it yet, do it on the way out. A couple people have jumped in. Any updates on Savoie, aside from the one we gave you from Luke Richardson saying still being evaluated? We've got nothing, but we'll have more for you tomorrow. Greg will be at practice tomorrow, so make sure you're following us on Twitter at @CHGO_Blackhawks for all the latest on all things Blackhawks, including Samuel Savoie's injuries. Hopefully he dodges a bullet here, but we're hopeful, and we're thinking about Samuel Savoie. Good dude. Tough to see that happen. So get well, Sam, and we'll talk to everybody tomorrow on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.